If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel on YouTube at Wild and Weird WV.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast.
Mysterious winged creature with red glowing eyes plagues a small town. But this isn't the tale of the Mothman. No, this is something completely different. Join us this week as we look at the legend behind the Cornish Owl Man on this episode of Wild and Weird Radio.
Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. We have had an absolute blast of a couple weeks with shows and live content. If you haven't caught those, you need to go back and take a look, because we had our good friend, Reverend Michael Carter, on our live last week. And then to follow that day up, we had the World Contact Day deep dive. And you want to talk about an absolute dive into Albert K. Bender's life and career, which was relatively short in ufology, but still the amount of stuff that he accomplished and looked into and the amount of experiences that he had in the short time he was involved was absolutely mind-blowing. And then we also had some comparisons. There was some shocking similarities, as you can see by the graphic that's displayed. But we're not going to give those away now. You're going to have to go watch those episodes for yourself.
I mean, it is what it is. It's a great episode. We did a lot of work on that one. And I think that we kind of proved that there was a little more to that man than just ordinary crazy contactee type story. It was very relevant to modern day happenings. You know, you had the contact with something intelligent that seemed seemingly intelligent. Those physiological effects that he had, you know, the headaches and then the psi elements with the out of body type experiences and whatnot, right down to the interpretation or possible interpretation of what could have been the Flatwoods Monster. So yeah, get over there and definitely have a look at it, because it's really cool. It's a great episode. I really enjoyed that episode. It's a long one, but it's a really good episode.
Yeah, it was a fun one to cover. The similarities, like I said, you guys are going to have to go back and listen to the episode. We don't want to dive into it too much, because we have a really interesting episode that we've been asked to do multiple times over the last few years, and we're finally getting around to it. And but before we go there, it is time.
Well, before you go there, make sure that if you guys are listening out there, and we do know that you are listening, make sure that you go over and watch us. You know, we put some cool stuff up, and there's some little tricks, and there's some Easter eggs in some of these episodes as well. You might want to try to find. Could be very beneficial, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you time jump a little bit, you can watch us all get more progressively bald.
Oh gosh,
progressively.
That's hilarious.
I think it's been since season 2 I've been bald. But
We
they
can go
wouldn't
back
know
to
that because we weren't on camera back then.
Yeah, there's actually video. You can go back and watch it. It's there. It's you'll have to go back in time quite a bit, though. It's not just on the podcast.
Yeah,
But
it's,
yeah,
it's
definitely.
way back.
Definitely make sure that you are following us at Wild and Weird WV on YouTube. And with that said, it's time for the news.
Some really interesting
since
topics to show up, I think.
Yes, we forgot to mention this on the live last week. We have a subreddit now.
Oh yeah, that is part of the news. You're right. There is a subreddit now that we have that Brandon's put together, and go over there and get on it, ask your questions, etc., etc. isn't that pretty much what we're doing over there, Brandon? It's kind of an outreach kind of thing.
Yeah, we can also hold discussions too, and just talk about things. And of course, we're going to advertise the show and upcoming shows and whatnot, events.
Of course.
Like the Facebook page, but less Facebooky.
Just think of it,
Mark
because
Zuckerberg.
There you go.
There's going to be a lot of news articles that we find we get posted up over there, and then you can engage with us. We'll engage back. We'll do advertisements, like Brandon said, for the show, and just have general discussion.
All right. So what's in the news, guys? What you got for me?
Well, Joe posted that article about invisibility.
Well, then it's not true. It's fake. It's completely fake. And if Joe had anything to do with it, I know this, so it's not real. So, moving on. What's the next one? I'm kidding. Go ahead. The invisibility cloak makes its comeback again. Correct?
It has, yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead, address it.
So the invisibility cloak.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. The invisibility cloak, like Ron said, has popped up yet again. Mind you, this article was from last year, but this thing has been showing up since, I believe, there was an episode of Monster Quest on History Channel from Doug Hychick, where he had a guy that was showing some new equipment, essentially, where you could blend in seamlessly with your surroundings. It was supposed to be the next tech for snipers coming up, but this stuff hasn't been like perfected completely, because it can only do so large before it starts getting really noticeable. You guys have all seen The Predator, right? How you have those wavy lines and blurry, like, body shape, essentially, but you can see through it.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like that, but a little bit more pixelated. But the edges are what really is the giveaway. And again, it goes back to this principle of refraction and bending light and using cameras and imagery from the back to project on the front. And hopefully creates this image or cloaking. That's the goal. But it's all right at this point. It's nothing that I would trust my life to in a close range situation.
I think it's more of a concept images that we're seeing. These people are just running with it like they do on every other social media platform, like TikTok or anything else, and just kind of like making up stuff. It's not really making it up, but just exaggerating, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they do like what everybody does. They speculate, right?
They speculate.
So.
Yeah. And then it becomes gospel for some reason.
What we're looking at is a technology that is extremely limited. It works. You can actually do it. It works. But you're very limited on what you can and can't cover.
Yeah, it's not what they're showing, though. This isn't some invisibility cloak like, i.e. Harry Potter is what I'm trying to get at.
It works best when you're like trying to block field of view from one direction, and you can just drop a sheet of it. Not that you're dropping it over the object, but you're literally putting a frame up and dropping the sheet within the frame.
Well,
you want to, it's almost like you want to use it on a big, like a movie screen.
Yeah, right. That's what I
project what's behind it to hide what is actually sitting there.
Yeah, I'd seen battlefield simulations using it on military vehicles, almost a decade ago, using fiber optic transmission.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not really practical in the way that these people are trying to say.
Absolutely not.
It's just not like that.
But it's neat seeing it come up.
What is it?
Wouldn't you need like decent amount of light too for that to even work?
To make it look real, yeah.
Oh yeah. It's otherwise it looks like
it's not. So don't believe the exaggeration so much, but understand there's a technology that's kind of like that, and bet you can bet we're working on that kind of tech. So don't count it out. It's just that's probably not what it's going to look like in its final form, so to speak.
Well, there's a lot of TV makers that have made TVs now that you can roll up like small enough to be a scroll that you can shove in your pocket. So, I mean, it's just a matter of time before. Exactly. So
what else? Have you seen the Motorola demo?
Yeah, I saw that.
That was pretty neat. It dropped, I think, on Thursday, and it's pretty cool. I was impressed.
Okay. Well, we got, guys. What else? Got more incredible news? Anything?
Well, there's that article that's floating around again of the asteroid that struck the moon.
Now, that is actually a really
interesting.
cool. Yes, it is, because there was a fake one that floated around about a week or so ago all over TikTok, but this is a real one. This is an actual impact that took place. It was in February, and it was captured by a Japanese satellite. And boy, it's pretty interesting. I just think that they're trying to blow the moon up, but that's just me.
Wasn't there a conspiracy theory that they were actually trying to do that at one point?
That's not a conspiracy theory. That's fact. They were actually trying to blow them. They didn't try. I'm sorry. That part's a conspiracy theory. Was there a plan to blow up the moon, like a hypothetical kind of thing? Yes, there was. That was.
Can you imagine
the
ignorance?
I mean, honestly, they didn't know if they blow it up or not. The idea was to nuke it.
It's hard to say what forces of nature that they could possibly screw up that we don't realize is contributed by the moon.
It doesn't matter. They don't care.
Well, even let's just bypass forces of nature for a moment.
Okay.
We have this thing called gravity.
Yeah.
And the moon is in our orbit.
Yeah.
The smaller those pieces get, what direction do you think they're going to go?
Yeah,
out or in?
Well, they didn't honestly think that they were going to blow it up, as in obliterate it, I don't think. But here's the fact. They didn't know what it even was at the time. They didn't know that if you dropped a nuke on it, that it wouldn't blow apart like an egg. We didn't know, but we were okay with just the experiment with it. It's cool.
I would have been the guy in the room that would have been like, maybe if we pop a hole in it, it'll fly through space like a balloon.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, anything's possible, right? Good Lord. But yeah, these are fantastic. It's great stuff, man. What else you got for us? Got any more relevant science news?
There's an impact crater in Greenland.
Well,
they found recently.
The heck you say? No, that's not real.
You would almost think that we had covered this on a show multiple times.
Well, it's making the news again, guys, because they're trying to discredit it now a lot more than they were when we covered it. When we covered it, which was just a few years ago, about 2 years ago, it seemed factual. You know, it seemed like everybody was going to be on board with it because you got the crater. It's there. You can't deny it's not there. It's there. But now they're saying that's not what did it. That wasn't anything really. That the whole extinction level event kind of thing, and the disappearance of the Clovis culture. Even though there's been debris found in Clovis sites, it's completely a coincidence. And we can't take any of those native stories. Those are just legends and myths that were made up. But we can surely believe every other legend and myth, just not those. No, I don't buy that. I think we were right on. I think that not just us. I think there's a lot of people who are working on this, and they're right on. There's been multiple impact craters found around the globe at this point. That shows that it wasn't just one big thing. It was a string of things that slammed into the planet, and it was over a period of possibly a week or so. These impacts occurred. Who knows how long they occurred, but it obliterated things. So
yeah,
I thought it was interesting too in that article was they mentioned the magic number repeatedly, 12,800.
12,000.
12,800 years is what they were saying. Yeah,
it is the magic number.
And it's this article was good seeing it back out there again because, like Ron said, there's a bunch of different. Nobody can agree. Essentially, there are proponents and there are people against it, and there's also people who think that this explains the Younger Dryas period, and it makes sense. Perfectly makes sense. The Tom marks it, and this article argues for that it is, this article actually goes along with what we had said.
Yeah, well, you got to remember
the entire episode.
Even the Chicxulub crater is still argued by some, Joe. I mean,
Yeah.
and the vast majority of science agrees that's what killed off the dinosaurs. But there's this, little stronghold that's no, it wasn't that. It was, it was some kind of global warming event. Yeah, caused by
Yeah,
freaking
exactly.
asteroid.
What do you think happens when so much debris is thrown in the sky?
It's
found out recently too that the Chicxulub crater is actually bigger than they thought it was.
Yeah,
it's eroded a lot. It was a massive impact, but that's not what happened. I think that's what a lot of the public thinks, is this was one just big massive impact, and that's what did the whole Younger Dryas event started. That's not what it was, and I think that they need to look at that and understand we're not talking about this one single impact event. It was a string of impacts, and they'll figure it out, I think, eventually, once we're capable of actually understanding the fact that impacts do occur, big ones, and we're not special.
Well, the next thing up that I've got, just like Brandon had mentioned earlier with our hair and us becoming progressively balder.
Oh, geez.
Back on the 15th of this month, there's an article released saying that antlers grown on mice through stem cell technology. This breakthrough demonstrates the possibilities of humans regrowing limbs. I mean, I would opt for antlers over hair.
Interesting. That's interesting.
I could do this. I could get on board.
Yeah. Well, that's a not deer,
right? No, that would be a Wendigo, right?
Maybe. Possibly.
Ain't that what they call them now? That's
I don't
what the
know.
Wendigo looks like. And it's got the antlers.
They think that's what it looks like.
So these deer antlers are particularly growing really, really fast. Every year, every time a buck sheds its antlers, they grow back the following year, and these antlers grow back roughly an inch a day. Like some species actually grow longer per day. It just depends on what species of deer, and I can't remember the Latin for it, but anyway, the whole family, their antlers grow back every year, and they grow back in rapid like growth. And what's odd is that scientists in this article, they're saying that scientists are using this technology, using stem cell technology, to grow antler like structures on mice. Now, to me, what comes off as mildly troubling is that deer antlers are actually a form of cancer. And it was an adaptive growth. Like I guess somewhere along the line, the biology adopted this growth and said, this is acceptable. We'll just use it kind of utilitarian style, and we can shed it off and it grows back. And so for the longest time, deer antlers were used in cancer research to study the growth and growth patterns and whatnot on certain types of cancer. So seeing this now that they're looking at particular Sika deer to regrow human limbs, like looking at the cells of those creatures to modify them to potentially help humans regrow limbs. I mean, I've read Spider-Man. I know what happened to Dr. Connors.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Like, that is how you wind up with a Wendigo. 100%. You wind up with this angry, monstrous deer man. And so you finally have pop culture's version of the Wendigo in real life.
This is how it happens. Is this, my friend? If we're going to start creating super mutant villains, we need some superheroes.
I mean, maybe that's where the real cryptids come in. Maybe that's where, buff Mothman shows up.
Maybe we should gather them together and form this legion of,
You said that wrong. Legion.
This legion of superhero cryptids that will fight these man-made beasts that are apparently being built.
That sounds like a great cartoon.
Yeah, it is.
Make a cryptid version of All Monsters Attack.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great.
So yeah, well, the Cryptid Avengers aside, what else do we have? Anything else anyone can think of?
Oh, as far as newsworthiness,
well, what
I think
truly
that wraps
is
us up.
newsworthy? Let's be real. There was one other little brief thing that happened this week that we will touch on. It was the 5th anniversary of Wild and Weird, West Virginia, which was interesting to me because I really didn't even know. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't seen the little Facebook memory pop up because we're so busy doing everything else under the sun. And yeah, so I made a little quick video of that, and we were trying to see how many people had actually been with us from the very start. There was a few that are still with us from the very start. And you know, what's great is 5 years ago we went official with it. That doesn't mean that's when we started. That means 5 years ago is when we went official with it, i.e. We had to go and actually make it part of our already pre-existing business legally.
Yep.
So that's how that happened, because unbelievably, I know, right? We actually do things legal. A lot of fun, guys. But no, thanks to everybody who continues to support us and support all the crazy things that we do. And if you're here, you already know every time we manage to, you know, pull one of those things off, we turn around and somehow push it back into the community and make sure that you know, we can just make the show bigger and better, and you know, give you guys some ample entertainment along the way, and not to mention data and you know, some hypotheses here and there. And now we have the interaction, which is what we set out to do in the very beginning all along. It just took, you know, 5 years to get here, so we're here now.
Yeah, it's because this is the
future.
We're coming into our first full year of video.
Yeah.
And it's our first few episodes of having the live show. And because we do everything on the books, it takes us a little bit more time. Because
we don't do fundraisers, and we don't do the whole, you know, that whole thing. I mean, that's wonderful if you do that. That's great. We just don't do that. We never had to do it with the reptiles. And as long as we can still make things, we still got our hands, we probably won't do that. You know?
And if we lose our hands, we'll just grow them back like antlers.
Well, I'm going to grow back probably like, you know, octopus arms.
That would be ideal.
Yeah.
I'd be able to get a lot more done if I had a few more of those.
I'm just wondering if we can modify that and, you know, splice it a little bit, maybe add a couple of limbs here and there. You know, that'd be cool.
My luck, it would be more like a starfish.
That's true. It would be more like a starfish. You're right. That's absolutely right.
Maybe one day they can replace our legs with tank treads.
Now you're just being weird. All right. Well, that's the end of the news. And let's... new news theme will be coming up shortly, probably within the next couple of months, just to let you guys know. So get ready for that. That's something exciting. Okay.
Well, this week, guys, we have a kind of common show. Like, we've done a show that had a whole lot of parallels to this one before. And
yeah.
Then again, it seems to be almost as if it is its own entity altogether, but we're going to let you decide. Tonight, we're taking a look at the Owl Man of Mothman, also known as the Cornish Owl Man.
Hey,
so
I got a question real quick before we go.
Yeah.
There, okay. Is this the same? This is Cornish, right? So is that where we get Cornish hens from? You're a chef. I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
But technically, like a Cornish hen, like if you get a real Cornish hen,
yeah,
you're going to pay a whole lot more for. But the Cornish hens that we buy at the grocery store are just like
little chicken things.
Little chickens.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, okay. That was just, bugging me, and I wanted to know. As I was reading this, I'm thinking, I wonder if that's where we get Cornish hens from.
Yeah, a real Cornish hen is actually, it's just a hair bigger than a quail.
Mm-hmm.
And the other, what we serve here is Cornish hen in America. It's just like a 8-month-old chicken.
Oh man,
not even 8 months. It's I think it's like 4-month-old chicken.
See right there, you're just destroying, people's belief systems. That's what we do here. We destroy belief systems. So if all you people that you're eating these Cornish game hens and this is the most delectable Cornish game hen I've ever had, you're really just eating a baby chicken.
That's right.
Okay. Anyway,
watch out that one.
Back to the Owl Man.
A Cornish hen's basically just like a bony chicken nugget. So
really, I think so. Okay, Owl Man, let's go.
So we got Owl Man on the table, and we're not talking about DC's comic supervillain. We're talking about the cryptid, which was described as being an owl-like humanoid creature, big red eyes. Heard that one before. It's often compared to the Mothman, like I was saying earlier, but the Owl Man of Mothman has been plaguing the people of this little township since 1902.
Interesting.
Sightings go way back, and in particular, it goes back to a church tower. And this church tower in Mothman is where this thing was alleged to live. Now, if you look at pictures of this church, you got to think construction back in those days, particularly in England, very compact. This is not the largest building in the world. There doesn't seem to be living quarters in this thing large enough for a creature the size of an owl man. So I'm not sure how the whole he lives there thing goes, but that's part of the lore. So we got to throw it in there, right? Now, the biggest thing that stands out to me is the very first modern day telling. And this was from a witness named Vicky Melling. And she was so frightened by the sight of this large feathered bird man. And her father immediately ran out and cut short their family holiday after hearing the tale, because this is a story that had been around for decades.
Was it June and Vicky? It was two girls, right?
June and Vicky were two girls.
Yeah. Okay. They're the same family, right? Is that what
same? They're sisters.
That's what I thought. All right, go ahead.
And their father's name was Don, and he cut this thing short because this is a story that had existed since the early 1900s. It survived 2 world wars, and here we are. We're looking at this thing in 1976. This is, 10 years after the Mothman phenomena here in West Virginia. And these girls are seeing this creature. They drew it out and they called it the Owl Man.
No, they didn't call it the Owl Man. No. That was
the dad.
Tony Doc Shields, the guy who it was reported to. Now, what I couldn't find out about Tony,
it was Shields. You're right.
If you can help me with this, was Tony an actual researcher, or was he just somebody who was interested in it, like an enthusiast? I couldn't really figure it out.
Well, based off everything I've been able to find on it, he was he claimed to be an investigator of phenomena.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like he wasn't like it was like one of us going out there.
Yeah, I heard
wasn't like he was a journalist or something. He was like one of us going.
I heard that he had a sort of an interest in the occult and whatnot as well. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying that's what I had come across while I was looking at it. But
he was an enthusiast that went out and did investigations, and he looked into the story because it was close to him.
Yeah, he was an interesting individual, that's for sure. But he had did what else did he did? I don't remember. He did a few other things too, but he was very interested in monster lore and so forth. But he did coin the term Owl Man. So before that, what we had been seeing was this gray thing with red eyes
and wings.
And immediately you think, well, we've heard this before, like you said, that's Mothman. And a lot of people do draw a correlation with Mothman to this thing. Okay?
They do.
But there were other sightings, right?
Yeah, in 1976, there was another sighting that took place. And it was reported by, again, 2 14-year-old girls at this point. Their names were Sally Chapman and Barbara Perry. And they were aware of the Owl Man tale, and according to their story, they were camping, right, and they were confronted by this, essentially a great horned owl from hell.
That's what it sounds like.
When you read the report, it's an owl with pointed ears, and you got the great horned owl, and there was also a Eurasian owl that lived in that area, but it didn't at that point in time. It wasn't supposed to. But I'm not. You guys know me. There's no reason to discredit or say any kind of animal doesn't live or have habitation in any region that they previously did, because their genetic clock and their genetic compass dictates where they go often. And it wouldn't be completely unheard of for a species that no longer inhabited an area.
Okay, that's fine, good, man. I mean,
to see if it was viable again.
Sure,
take the Appalachians for example, northern Appalachia, all the way into the central area, down around where we are. Golden eagles and bald eagles were wiped out. They weren't hunted out. They just were starved out, or they left and migrated out because food supply. But in the last 20 years or so, these animals have returned, and you get animals like that return off of a scouting mission. Essentially, an animal will come into an old territory looking to see if food has restored, and if it has, they'll set up shop, tell their friends, and here comes more.
Well, that's wonderful and good, but these girls said that this thing had massive glowing eyes again.
Yep.
It had horns, like the horned owl, but it also had black pincers. What? Now,
I mean, an owl's claws are black.
Sure.
But they're not like pincers.
Well,
these are going to be, an owl's feet are down low.
They didn't say claws. They said pincers.
They said pincers.
So, I think that, I think by saying that's the Eurasian eagle owl, which is what was pretty much the excuse for this thing, the explanation came up by Joe Nickel. He's an author at the time, who said that, they do, those owls do nest in the church steeples and barns and whatnot, right?
Yep.
So that's cool.
It makes a great sheltered place from where there's not a whole lot of forest. To block wind. It makes a good hideaway.
Yeah. But my question is that just the same kind of reckless debunking that we saw with Flatwoods being a great horned owl, and with the Mothman being a crane?
Well,
tell me.
It doesn't help anything that Shields was kind of a hoaxer.
Kind of a hoaxer, yeah.
And I don't know if it was so much like a hoaxer as much as it was a practical joker, similar to how Gray Barker was.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because Gray Barker was still a very serious researcher, but he was known to pull some pranks.
Yeah,
and he hoaxed. He did hoax people.
Right. So what are we looking at here?
Do those hoaxes completely toss out anything else from the past or their future? I mean, in the community, those things are heavily frowned on.
Well, allegedly the sound of the owl, or a massive owl, I should say, was heard in the area, and that was for decades to come, right?
Yeah.
So the sightings occurred, the sounds were occurring. But what's interesting about the original Owl Man sightings is that, according to, to what we know, the facts that are stated, and there aren't many facts about this, by the way. There really isn't. There's not like a whole lot of sources.
No, there's not.
It's not like you're going to write, read 10 novels about the Owl Man. It just doesn't. It's not like Mothman. That's a problem. There aren't very many witnesses. And the witnesses all trace their origin back to, guess who? Doc Shields.
It goes all of it goes back to Shields.
It's either family members or friends that he has had who were all witnesses to this thing. Yeah. Now, you have to ask yourself about the friend part, though. That doesn't mean anything, because that could mean, he talked to witnesses and they became friends. We do the same thing.
We do the same thing.
That's normal. So I won't throw that out. But what I do find interesting about this thing, if we look at the data, all these witnesses were girls, young
They were.
girls.
All the way up into 1995.
Yeah.
In 1995, a female tourist from Chicago wrote the Western Morning News in Turio, claiming to have seen a man bird with a ghastly face and a wide mouth, glowing eyes, and pointed ears, as well as having clawed wings. Another woman, another girl, however you want to say it, there's none of them were male. At least nobody that came forward was male.
No, these were all women, all female.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That's weird.
It is.
To me, that's weird. I can't think of any sighting or any incident where it was just predominated by one gender. You know, I don't see that.
Yeah,
we don't see that. We see all these events occurring, and everybody's seeing them. It doesn't matter, race, creed, gender.
Doesn't matter what your job is. Doesn't matter what your sex is.
None of that.
They're seeing them.
Don't matter. And yet, here's this thing, and it's only young girls that are seeing it. Now that's weird to me.
It same here. Like that leans back into the whole. Was Shields behind it? Was he hoaxing these people because he knew that they would come forward? He knew that he would get a scare out of them. It's hard to say. It really is hard to say because this one, unlike a lot of cryptid sightings, the historical ones that go back into the early 1900s that describe like a large gray, red-eyed winged entity. Silvery gray. Those seem more credible. It seems like the ones that started in the 70s kind of revolved around an individual, and it's hard to not look back and point the finger at him.
Yeah, it kind of is. Now, there is one thing, though, one little thing that we have to address with this that has another similarity to Mothman. And that is the fact that with a couple, not just one, but there was multiple occasions of these individuals, these girls who had seen these things, but they also reported globs of floating light over Monin, over the church. So, and they were red and red-orange colored. Coincidentally, the Owl Man in some of these cases was said to have slanted glowing eyes. I think you know where I'm going to go with this.
Yep.
Because we also have, at the same time, 1976 through 1977, I should know, it was a magical time. There was a popular time for supernatural activity in the area, and it was a massive amount of UFO sightings in the region as well. So those sightings also occurred with the sighting of the Morgor, the Cornish sea serpent. So there was a lot of this weird cryptids, occultish
mythological kind of creature sightings.
Yeah, going on in this one period of time, 76 to 77, almost like it was a window kind of date, But what I'm saying is there was UFO activity here. We just said that, some of the witnesses saw this thing and had slanted eyes, albeit, glowing and red. Still, there's something there. Massive eyes, owls. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
In contact cases, guys.
Yeah.
Gray. They're gray. Again, says it's gray feathers, right? Gray. So we've got gray, slanted eyes. They look like birds. Do they, though? I mean, again, we've proven that some of this stuff not proven, but we're close to proving, or we're close to, I guess, coming to the same conclusion that a lot of very famous researchers throughout history have come to, that these things can manipulate and make you see what they want you to see. So I can't throw that away. I cannot put that off the table. I can't say that it's just, absolutely unlikely. But I think that there's more evidence for me that this was some kind of a mind screen kind of image thing rather than a giant owl. That's
I have a question.
With pincers. Go ahead.
Did any of the witnesses ever like describe like the approximate height of it and what it was doing when they came across it? Like, did it fly out of the air?
That's a great question.
The approximate height on at least 2 of the reports was that it was around 4.5 to 5 feet. So it was smaller. It was smaller than what Mothman was reported.
So it was 4.5 feet, gray, had slanted eyes. I'm just saying, you can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I mean,
And maybe the pincers could have been like some technology they were holding or something.
Dude, who knows? I mean, really.
Or they were just going around going.
I don't know, man. I don't know what this was. I can't. I'm just saying, of course there's sightings of large bird-like creatures. That still goes on today,
Yeah.
Stan Gordon could tell you this. I mean, he has chapters and chapters of files of strange bird-like sightings, giant birds and such. The difference in this one, though, is that it was an owl. It wasn't a pterodactyl. It wasn't a giant eagle. It wasn't a condor. This was an owl. And
I think it's interesting too.
Go ahead.
Well, you're probably about to make this connection. Sorry, but
it's fine.
The connection that Greys have with owls.
That's right. Yes,
there might be an episode about that coming up.
Just saying, there's there is that connection with witnesses who think that they're seeing owls. Some who have seen owls, heard owls. Mike Cleland has done an amazing amount of research on the whole alien owl connection, and I highly advise anybody to look into that. But are we talking about screen images? Are we talking about extra dimensional or ultra dimensional, etc. beings? I mean, I don't know. I just think that it's fascinating to me that we are seeing the same kind of
the one thing, just for me, looking back, because we do the research into the unknown. We look into all this stuff, and one of the things that we're not seeing, they did see the globules of light, that
red and orange
that
orbs.
Traces.
Yeah.
But the thing that doesn't, for me, is the irritations and the red eyes and the physical side effects.
Well, you got to remember now, not everybody has that. For some
Not everybody
reason.
has it, but the ones that seem to be in very close range, and most of these Owlman sightings were within, like, it seems like almost feet. None of them will get really in depth into the distance, but these are very up close sightings.
Yep. So we also have the possibility that we are talking about a total hoax. Let's not take that off the table as well. Okay. Could they have already heard the story of, the Mothman or
Well, it made worldwide news.
Well, I mean, you had the Friedberg Shrieker. That was in 1978. I mean, it would be later, but that could also add to some of these later claims, because we had claims of Owlman up into, like you said, like 2000, right? Or something. Yeah. So
Mothman Prophecies came out yet? The book?
At that time?
Oh, the book had, yes.
Okay.
But the movie, came out in the early 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah. 2000 something. Yeah.
And the movie, in the prologue for the movie, it did address the Owlman. Just like it addressed the completely fabricated Chernobyl.
Oh gosh!
Incident,
yeah,
remember?
That's great. Well,
because the Chernobyl thing was shared as gospel for the longest
time. It was until that is the one good thing that Seth managed to get accomplished in that film, when he got the director to come forth and say that. That was a big.
That
deal.
was one of the biggest things against that whole topic, and it completely unraveled it.
Yeah.
For the Chernobyl incident, anyway. Like that was all just made up for the movie. But for me, my first introduction to the Owlman was the prologue on that movie, and that was what made me look into it first. Like I looked it up, because why not? That's what you do. Go ask Jeeves, because that was the popular search engine at the time.
I don't know
everybody.
I don't know when I first heard about the Owl Man, but I know when I heard about it, I was like, "Oh, that's Mothman." I mean, I know when I
all the
heard
artistic renditions, like I agree.
Yeah.
Like the artistic renditions almost look like somebody copy pasted.
Well,
Just
what we
the only
know,
difference is you got like the little owl feathers.
yeah, you got the horns.
Yeah.
But here's 1976. That was just a year after the Mothman Prophecies, was released. The book, I mean.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, it does seem awfully suspicious, Brandon. Yes, it does seem.
That's a good question, and I think that's a very high probability where he could have got the idea.
Yeah,
because all it takes is the history going back into the early 1900s of this gray, silver gray, red-eyed winged creature to say, "Oh, well, this is this thing," and then I wonder.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
There's been a lot of copycat hoaxes over the years too.
Well, that's what it could have been, a copycat hoax. Exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying that that's definitely something that needs to be on the table because the coincidence of it being just a year, after the book came out and was published. Yeah. When was the book published? Let me get a look. Hang on. Looks like the book was published June 23rd, 1975. So yes.
So yeah, it was already there.
That's a yes then, a hard yes as to the source material was already out at that point.
It's in circulation. People already had it.
Yeah.
And story, you know that all of those weird magazines, all of the magazines and stuff that cover these kind of topics were running ads for it.
The stuff that he was interested in, he'd already been exposed to it by now anyway, because he was already interested in monsters and the occult stuff.
And that was right. He probably already had some of the other books in Kill's collection.
I'll guarantee it. Yeah.
Mothman's lair was the TNT bunkers.
And now he's got
that there, so he placed it in a church.
A church.
Yeah.
To me,
TNT factory is bigger though. That's what I was getting at earlier when I was looking at the pictures of the tower there in Monan. Like it's kind of tiny. At least the TNT bunkers, or not the TNT bunker, but the TNT factories the North Power Plant was monstrous.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're also dealing with something like you said, Joe, that was 4.5 to 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
So it could have, theoretically, I guess, been in a church tower. I mean, that's possible.
Yeah.
I think that this was a copycat incident, but that's just me. And if it wasn't a copycat incident, then we're dealing with something that was, again, seeming to display these post-contact characteristics of some of these contact individuals is what I'm getting at, like mind screen kind of stuff. So
McClellan, when he was writing the interview book where he interviewed witnesses who had seen these things, some people had actually seen the owls transform into gray.
Yes, or balls of light. There was one of the incidents that I found was the most awesome was that they had heard the owls. They went outside and they saw these balls of light come out of the sky, shoot into their barn. They went up into the barn and there's these little owls. It's like, wow. I mean, there's the crazy stuff like that. And we have to look also, and we'll do this in that episode, I'm sure, because surprise, spoiler alert, we're going to do that. Aliens and aliens coming. But what we will say is that it's a very big phenomena. It's a very known phenomena. It's strange. It's one of those things, again, where it's so weird that it almost protects itself, as Stan says. But owls are also messengers. You got to remember that, and that's one of his things that he focuses on too, is that messengers. But that's true. I mean, we can't. That's not just one man's theory. That is a fact. Owls were looked at as messengers. They were looked at as death tokens and associated with witchcraft and all kinds of just occult stuff.
Keepers of wisdom.
Yeah, and keepers of wisdom. Again, occult stuff, right? That doesn't mean that it's evil. That just means that it's esoteric. And they were definitely a part of that. So maybe that's another reason that it was an owl. Maybe it was all symbolism.
Had an owl, remember that?
What's that?
Tina had an owl that sat on her shoulder.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah, I had an owl once. It's a long story, but yeah. So weird stuff indeed. But I don't know, guys. I mean, I think you're looking at something that's. I think this is probably next to the Jersey Devil.
Next to the Jersey Devil. That's what I was thinking too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking next to the Jersey Devil, this one is getting my probability of it just being a copycat kind of hoax situation based upon the Mothman story. Unless we can actually hear from an actual witness who can come forward and with some better data. And I mean, my mind's not going to be like, oh, it's 100% hoax. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's strongly swaying toward that until there's some more data. So if anyone has any data, real data on the Owl Man, I want to see it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to have it sent in. I'd love to talk to somebody who is a witness, because we,
and I know we're listened to by friends over the pond there.
We are. If you guys know anybody over there that has had an encounter with this thing, send them our way. We'd love to actually talk to them, because one of the things that we're known for is we side with the witness. We listen to what they're saying, and they experienced what they experienced. And when we're faced with an issue like this, limited sightings, all kind of seem to revolve around a single entity, that being Shield.
Yep.
It's hard. It's hard to not swing this way, guys. And we're not. You all know we're all critical thinkers here. We don't sit and wholesale buy into everything that comes across the desk. We look at these stories, we look at these accounts, we tell you what we think. You don't have to listen or like what we think. We are just sharing with you what we've read, what we've consumed, and where the data is leading us. And currently, the data is leaning us in a direction that, it doesn't look good for the Owl Man.
I can give you the data sets. That way you can make up your own mind. And I'm going to put this together really quick for you. And basically, here's what we know. The Owl Man stands about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, has glowing eyes, either red or white, has large crab-like claws or feet, high ankles, which is that kind of weird. You admit that's weird, right? I mean, that means they can see his ankles, his legs, right?
Right. See, that's something you never got with the Mothman. Nobody ever described his legs.
You never see the feet with the Mothman, hardly ever. You've heard of people saying they seen footprints, but never actually saying, oh yeah, I could see his feet. So you can see the feet here. It's almost like it's a missing thing. Pointed ears. On multiple occasions, they were seen with other lights, strange lights in the sky, bright red and orange. Owl Man also was loud. They made like an owl-like sound, reportedly, and it had a black mouth. Also forgot to mention that. Whereas Mothman, you didn't really see the face.
No, you just saw the eyes. There was no head. There was it was just kind of a There it was.
Owl Man also is a culmination of this, according to one source. It was a monstrous creature that resembled three beings. Which was basically a man, an owl, and a bear because of its size, apparently. I don't know. I don't understand because bears are typically taller, right?
They are. And another thing that leans into this for modern day is, and people are getting ready to go to the theaters and see this movie, and that is the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Okay.
And there's an owl bear in Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And the owl bear is one of the baddest looking mamma jammas in my opinion, in the whole franchise. It's one of the best monster creations. And if I saw that thing, I'd lose it, because it size of a bear, but an owl. Okay. And a man. Like, it stands on its 2 feet, and it's, crazy. So it does represent that. So expect to see more
stories about the Owl Man coming up.
About the Owl Man coming through, because I'm a firm believer in the phenomena that is the tulpa.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So Owl Man also has, we talked about this, right? The gray wings, gray feathers on the wings, which was the original sighting of Mothman, grayish angel-like wings. Remember that?
Yep.
Most people don't remember
Man-bird
that
thing.
because they think that that's more of a, it was leathery. That doesn't come in until later. Flapping wings. It could also, of course, fly, although I don't have any report of it actually flying or taking flight.
Nope. It's either perched or it's like just standing there looking ominously.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Right. So we didn't see it fly yet. There's claims that it was flying. Okay. Where's that coming from? There were other sightings at the time, like I said, in 70, what was it? 76 to 77.
75.
That little window. Now let's think about that for 1 second. 76, 77.
Now I'll give it the one in the window. That one to me seems more like that's no owl phenomena.
Yeah. But you have a 1 year period, right? The
Yeah.
same thing happened with Mothman. There's a 1 year period.
It just goes, and Keel's book was already out.
Yep. So, man, until we get some more data, but again, I'm also with you on the whole Tulpa thing. That is a very interesting possibility. You want to explain that?
Well, a tulpa is, and I do really want to dive into the tulpa phenomena in a full episode one day soon, because there's a lot that it can wrap up.
Yeah.
And a tulpa is, in simplest terms, a psychic projection. And it's not necessarily a psychic projection that someone is, sitting there like Professor X and they're like, and then this thing manifests. But it's that you've read about something, you've seen stories, and you believe it so fervently. It's become to you reality. And there's so many people who have read these stories and they tell these stories, and it gives them life almost.
But if it's more people than one, that's something else. That's an egregore, right? Isn't that what those
it is like an egregore.
Because those are like, okay, there's a really good analogy of that on, I was watching TikTok not too long ago, and there was some girl in there, she was talking about, it was a wonderful explanation of this. And she was talking about the difference between tulpa and egregore.
Yeah.
And used Santa as an explanation for egregore. Because there's a mass. Yeah, doesn't that make sense though? I mean, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, you could see something like that with this. In is what I'm getting at.
You could. You've read the story, and if they had read these stories from 1902, and then they maybe read John Keel's book, and they're sitting there, and all this, it's dusk, something's going on. Their fears already ramped up, and all it took was just that little extra oomph, and suddenly this thing appears. It's given enough energy, so to speak, that it manifests in front of them, and they can see it.
Well, quantum physics tells us that nothing exists, Joe, until it does exist. Now, I know that sounds silly, but what that means is nothing exists until it's actually observed. Therefore, it gives you that possibility that you can create these realities, and like you said, with the tulpas and the egregores, So that makes perfect sense to me. I mean,
and back with the tulpa again, oftentimes, as quick as this thing's brought into your reality, it is removed.
Yeah.
You have this window where you see this thing, you project this thing, and you see it, you experience it. Every sense in your body is telling you that it's there. Oftentimes, other people won't see it with you.
Yeah.
You'll experience this by yourself. You could be with a few others. And you'll see it, and you're like, "Oh, did you see that?" And everybody else is like, "I was looking over there. I have no idea what you're talking about."
Right.
But you gave this thing this energy, and it manifested. There it was. That essentially is a tulpa. And it's possible that this thing could lean into that realm of being a tulpa, kind of like the Rake or Slender Man. Or Slender Man really goes more into egregore.
Yeah, there's enough people who believe in that crap now. So, if you see it, you made it. It's your fault.
Yep.
Oh, what's that one about the thing that lives in the woods that everybody claims they see all the time?
That's it.
What is it?
That's it. That's
That
the
one cryptid.
Slender Man.
No, it's not Slender Man. It's like this white beast-looking thing that people claim they see in the woods, but it really started as a creepypasta. I can't remember what it's called now.
I don't know. The only white beast seen in the woods that I'm aware of is like the white thing, but that's actually just a white Bigfoot.
I'm not sure.
Like it's even.
I forget what it is.
It's just a named Bigfoot that had a ton of sighting reports attributed to it.
Yeah,
there's a white one that's been seen in West Virginia. Yeah,
there has been. West Virginia, PA, Ohio, and Georgia and Tennessee are the states that I'm aware of that there's been white ones seen. There's probably more, but those are the only ones that I've actually
probably
studied.
Really old Bigfoot. Maybe they're not white naturally; they're just old.
Yeah, but it's interesting nonetheless, because when you look at this thing and we go back, we look and we can point it and say it was a hoax, but then you've got people who will stand on the opposite end of it and yell and yell and yell, it was real, and never have the experience, never knew anybody that had the experience, and actually really probably didn't look into the story itself.
Right. Yeah. That would be the believer syndrome that you're describing.
Like sheep squatch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't even get me started on the sheep squash. We got to beat the squatch out of that one again for the umpteenth time on here.
No. No, we're not. But, I mean, all in all, like I said, I'm going to stand where I'm standing until I see more evidence. This is more than likely a hoax that was based upon the Mothman prophecies. And until I see more, I can't say anything else. That's me personally. You don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Just, that's my opinion only, in my opinion.
What do you think, Brandon?
Oh, yeah, I think it probably is a hoax.
Yeah.
I think it's made up probably just to get some attention on that little town. So that guy can make some money too, probably.
I tend to lean that direction. I think it was just somebody who was capitalizing on an old story that took place in that town with the history that was already there. And he was into the esoteric. He was into the occult. He was into monsters and the weird. And just said, you know what? I read this Mothman Prophecies book. This was really cool. I'm going to try to see if I can reach the same kind of fame that Keel had.
Nope.
Oh, speaking of copycats, I was going to bring this up.
Nope.
Remember all the copycats that came out after Blair Witch Project?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example.
That is a really good example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, all three of us are in agreement here until we have data that points us in the other direction. And, we have listeners who tune into us from across the pond. If any of you guys or your friends have had experiences with the Owl Man, reach out to us. You can get a hold of us at wildandweirdwv@gmail.com, or if you want to go and do it the formal way, you can go to wildandweirdwv.com and hit the report of sightings tab, and that will send you straight to where you can file your report and give all of the information that you possibly have. It's we'd love to hear from you, because this is one of those things where there's just not enough data, and if we can help gather and accumulate data to add to the story, we might be able to give a little bit of credibility to it, or we might be able to help you guys come up with your own solutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
So, let's see here, guys. We are, like Ron said, we've had our Wild and Weird West Virginia 5-year anniversary. Thank you to everybody who has been with us along the road. We appreciate each and every one of you. When it started out small. It has grown into this just roller coaster. And we get to go places, do things, meet people. We get to go and investigate places that we never have access to otherwise, all because of you guys who stood with us and walked the road with us and traveled on the road with us, picked up merchandise, or just shared a post, liked the video, or subscribed over here on YouTube. none of it will be possible without you guys, period. So thank you.
Absolutely. And don't forget to join us back here on Thursday.
That's right. We're going to have another really fun topic lined up for you, and maybe a few guests if you decide to jump on with us. Because all you have to do, if you would like to join us on the live on the video format, you just got to tell us. We'll bring you on. This is your show, guys. The live is your show. Yep. It's your opportunity to jump on and hang out with us. Join us Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and do we share it anywhere else? I think it goes up on the Reddit and
I'm not sure where else it goes. Yeah, I'm not sure where all it goes. I know. All I know is YouTube and the Facebook platforms, but I don't know of anything else.
I try to put it in as many places as possible while in the first few minutes of the show. I'm grabbing everybody's comments and trying to get it out in a few different places. So
it's working. I mean, it's absolutely working. We've got more people who've come in, and we have tales that they're sending us, and which is really awesome. And we'll of course be trying to include those in the episodes as well.
Well, speaking of those tales, one of them was sent in, and this is a short one that we can read to you now.
Do we have one
as an episode wrap up?
Oh,
okay. We do have one.
Okay.
So roughly 4 years ago, my son and I were on our way home from work. It was early fall and coming down what we call Little Bolt Mountain. Now, I know exactly where Bolt Mountain is personally. I've used to have to drive across it all the time. There's a lot of brush cover on the mountain, and when we're saying brush cover, those of you who have watched the Wineberry video, take a look at what the growth cover is, because this takes place really close to Wineberry. And to the left side of the road going up into the woods was a very large white creature. My son put his face to the windshield looking at it. He said, "Mom, what is that?" We could only see a very big set of shoulders and its back. This mountainside was almost straight up, and this creature was going up it at great speed. It was a white gray in color. This is another case of what we were actually just talking about, oddly enough, being a white or gray Bigfoot sighting here in the state of West Virginia. And that was sent to us. It's actually really close to the Wineberry site.
Wow.
Russ is gonna love that one.
Oh yeah. So
that's a pretty wild one, man.
So thanks for sending that over to us. We really appreciate it. And if you want to hear your account read at the end of either the live or on our radio show, go ahead and you can send those reports over to wildandweirdwv.com. Click on the contact us or report a sighting tab. It'll send it straight to us. If you don't want us to read it, by the way, we won't. You just put that you'd rather remain anonymous. It won't be read aloud. We've got dozens of those reports that we just don't share. Simply.
Did they say when that happened?
Yeah, 4 years ago in the it was 4 years ago and early fall. Prime time.
Yep. Prime Bigfoot time, yeah.
Yeah, prime time. Everything's moving that time of year.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, great sighting report. Thank you for sending that in. We're going to add that to our data set and we're going to put it on the map. If you guys want to catch us, the next place that we're going to be at in person is at Monster Fest in West Virginia. Monster Fest.
MonsterCon. Yeah, MonsterCon.
That's what it is. West Virginia MonsterCon. It's going to be held at Dave Spink's World of Weird, April 28th, 29th, and 30th. The following 2 weeks after that, we're going to be at the Withville UFO Festival. And you don't want to miss that. That is an amazing show.
Mm-hmm. That's a great show. I hear we're going to show some stuff at that show. I don't know. We're doing a presentation at that one, right?
Oh, yeah. We're actually speaking at that event as well.
Yeah.
And then we've also got the Ohio Bigfoot Conference coming up. We've got in the spring, I think that wraps up spring and early summer. Those are the first 3 shows. And then we kick off into the fall, and definitely want to check out the Flatwoods Monster Festival. And May 20th, don't forget Wood Booger Jamboree. We're coming back to the park, bringing a Bigfoot-sized party. Going to be having food and all the festivities that you remember from last year. It's just going to be a blast. Last year we had over 1,000 people, and we packed out the park. It was great.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So everybody make a point to be there. Do remember that Wood Booger is a free event.
Yes.
And it's kid friendly. Bring the kids, have fun. It's a whole day thing.
Family friendly and free. The only thing you got to do is pay for the goods you buy from the vendors, and
that's it. And there's a lot of good vendors. So
yes, there are.
Yes. So a little bit of anything that you want is going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's in a park. So by all means, have fun. That's what it's for. So it's a party. It's a party, man.
All right, guys. We will see you all on Thursday. And remember,